G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I've taken a drive today just to get out of Sydney. It was raining in Sydney, and thank God I got out, because as you can see, the sun has come out here. It's a little bit overcast, it's a bit messy, it's been raining. But I came for a drive and I thought I'd come down the south coast. I haven't been on a drive down to the south coast for a couple of years now with COVID, and it brings back some beautiful memories from when I was younger. I used to come down to St George's Basin, where I am today, and today I'm at Aurora Bay. And I used to come here with my auntie Frida, my uncle George, my cousin Anna, and they used to bring me down with them to join them, because my parents were working 7 days a week and we really didn't get a chance to get away as a family. So every year when my auntie would take her annual break with her daughter and my uncle would come down for the weekends, she generously invited me to come down and join them, and we'd go fishing, water skiing, spend the whole day at the beach, and we'd my auntie would rent different places at different times, and one year she rented here at Aurora Bay, and it was just great. It was an awesome way to spend summer. Just freedom just to spend the whole day, every single day at the beach, eating, just chilling out, playing, meeting people. But now that I was driving past here, an old memory came flooding back, and the general store is across the road there. Hasn't changed at all in 45 years, as you can imagine. I was probably in my mid to early teens back in those days, and as you can see, the general store across the road there is the same. But one thing I noticed is the telephone box. I don't know if you can see the telephone box there, but back in the mid 70s, what would happen is that my parents were working 7 days a week, and one of the provisos, one of the requirements for me to come on holidays with my auntie, given that back then we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have ways of communicating, the only way we could communicate with each other and stay in touch is by public phone. And this public phone box down here is exactly the same, and really just hasn't changed all that much at all. And I remember on one occasion I'd come to the phone booth with my auntie Frida, and I'd make a reverse charges call. So rather than putting money into the phone, I would just call the operator and order a reverse charges call to a particular number. My parents were at Oatley, and the operator would put me through to speak with my mother. So I was chatting to my mother and just finding out how things are going, and she asked me to put Auntie Frida on the phones just to find out from Auntie Frida if I've been behaving and how everything is. So it was just a standard sort of situation where my mother just wanted to make sure that I was not being a troublemaker and being good and all of that sort of thing. And then my auntie Frida handed me back the phone, and then my mother said she had some news to break to me. And I remember the pain and shock that I received when she told me that my pet bird, my pet budgerigar, had died, I still remember that emptiness, that I cried, I bawled my eyes out, because it was our pet. We had it for a number of years. We had taught it how to talk, and used to say Jimmy, 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 and used to have little conversations. And every day when we closed the shop, we'd let the bird out of the cage, and he'd fly around and fly onto our heads and go to the mirror and talk to itself. And it was just a common element in our family which brought us all together. I couldn't have a dog or anything like that because I was living in a flat, in a unit, and this was our pet green budgerigar, and it was tame. It would sit on our shoulders, on our heads, and fly to us and fly away, and just the news that it died because my father unfortunately had left it out on the balcony, and it was a really, really hot December or January summer's day, and the bird basically just perished from overheating. So there you go. There's a little snippet from my past, from my life. All of these things shape our destiny, shape who we are and who we become as people. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head left and go towards Sanctuary Point, yes, to Palm Beach, where we spent most of our years. And the first year that we came down here, the first year that I joined Auntie Freda and Anna and Uncle George, was at Sanctuary Point, where they were camping in the caravan park. So what I want to do between now and then is go through another book summary, and the book summary that I want to talk about is entitled The Mountain Is You. An interesting subject, an interesting topic. The Mountain Is You, and the author is Brianna Wiest. Brianna Wiest wrote a book entitled The Mountain Is You, and the author kicks off the book summary with an observation where she says that whether you like it or not, we are all called to grow and mature every single day of our lives, and to reach our unique potential. So each person has a calling to do the best they can with what they have available to them and to reach their potential. I remember years ago reading a quote from a famous American NBA coach. His name is John Wooden, and he says that society won't judge you based on what you've achieved. They won't judge you based on what you've achieved, but rather society will harshly judge you based on what you should have achieved, given the skills that you had, the opportunities you had available to you, the network of people, the investment people made in you. All of that has an impact on who we are, and as the author says and reminds us, that you're judged and based on who you are and what you should have delivered, what you should have done. So it's a great message. It's a great message to everybody, and it's a wake-up call to each and every one of us to know that we have unique gifts that God gives us in different doses, different levels, different amounts, and those gifts need to be expressed for the worship of God, for the glory of God, and to serve God and to serve each other and to help possible, and to leverage those gifts, those stepping stones, and make them available in a positive and productive way. So the author goes on to say that we need to welcome and embrace the growth pains that we receive along our path, and the challenges that come our way, knowing that God's gifts are wrapped in pain, suffering, and problems. All the challenges we have, we need to understand and to welcome and to embrace, and to know that there's a reason for them, and a good reason for what we go through. Because at some point in time, once we get through these growth pains, once we get through the suffering, the challenges, there'll be an abundance of sweetness, there'll be an abundance of fruit and fragrances, and there'll be an abundance of rewards. So, as my friend John DeBassis always tells me, keep on going, keep on growing, and keep on reinventing ourselves. We are called to reinvent ourselves and to make the most of ourselves every single day. So the first formal point to come out of this book from this author is when the author says that when we realise what our core needs are, we'll understand why we make the certain decisions that we make in our lives, and understand how those decisions are specific for each person and for each need. Our subconscious is responsible for much of what we do on a daily basis, and is also responsible for our self-sabotage. It's important to understand that there is something about us, something wired in us called our subconscious, that can be our friend and it can be our foe. It can be there to lift us, or it can be there to cause us inordinate amount of pain and suffering in the form of self-sabotage. So our subconscious, something that we can't touch and feel, something that we don't really have very much access to on a daily basis, can damage us if left unchecked and unharnessed. So what the author suggests here, and the call to action that we have, is that we need to identify our root causes. What causes us to do what we do and behave the way we behave. And we need to align our many actions, our habits, our routines with our true internal desires and our values. We just don't, or shouldn't, be just doing things without thinking about them, without considering the first, second and third level consequences to ourselves and other people. The author here says that whatever we do, we've got to do it thinking about the impact that it'll have on us. So I was just driving past and I saw a couple of kangaroos up there behind us. So what I'll do is I'll just do a Yui here and just go and say hello to the beautiful, beautiful kangaroos that are on the side of the road, just minding their own business. But I can never ever get enough of nature, and I absolutely love seeing kangaroos in the wild. So I'm in a suburb here called Sanctuary Point. I'm down on the south coast. I'm out of the urban areas of Sydney, and there are kangaroos on the road. So to my Greek friends, you're going to see something that you wouldn't normally see in Greece. You wouldn't normally see it in Sydney, but here we go. This house in its front yard has a family of kangaroos just helping the mowing of the lawn. So the author goes on to say, and look at that big male kangaroo just standing at the front here. The author goes on to say that in order to be happy and fulfilled, we need to answer the key questions in our lives, and to understand, what I am doing, and if what I'm doing is right, and to understand whether or not the actions that I'm currently doing, if it's going to serve and get me to where I want to go, and serve my core needs and core values. The second kangaroo on the right there is a doe, and I can see in its pouch it has a little joey. How beautiful. So the second, he's having a bit of a scratch. So the second, let me just get a bit closer so you can see them. So the second formal point that comes out of this book summary, is where the author says that we need to seek risky opportunities rather than accepting comfortable life situations. We basically need to bend and stretch ourselves in a way that's going to help us get to where we want to get to, is what the author is suggesting. So let's just move on and not annoy these kangaroos. I'll just do another U-turn and come back. So the author is suggesting and telling us something that other books have told us, and other authors have reminded us, that at the end of the day, we need to step just outside our comfort zone. Wow, look at the size of that kangaroo in that front yard. He's just massive. Look at the one on the right there, that one over there. So we need to step outside our comfort zones, or just lean outside our comfort zones, in order to be productive and to make the most of the opportunities that are available to us. The author then goes on to say that as humans, we are wired for comfort. We are wired for preservation and doing the same familiar thing with the same familiar people, time in and time out. So it's just normal. It's just normal to want to hang out with people who are just like you. It's just normal to want to be with people, of the same culture, of the same race, the same religion as you, because that makes us feel comfortable, and we're wired for comfort. We're wired for preservation, to preserve our core beliefs, to preserve our understandings, and doing the same familiar things, the same familiar routines with the same people over and over again. And hence why we love, and why I love, my Greek Orthodox faith, my Greek Orthodox culture, because it allows me to do the same things year in, year out. At Easter, at Christmas, when people are getting married, sadly when people are having funerals. But the author here is letting us know that that's all normal, and it's normal to want to be with people, I guess. And this is a little bit controversial, what I'm going to say, but it's in line with what and how we're wired. People like being with people who are the same as them, who look the same as them, who dress the same, and how can I say it? Who have the same makeup and go. So we're designed that way. So what we're saying here is that we're seeking survival, and we need to do the same old things. And here it is, the Palm Beach Caravan Park. This is the caravan park that I came to with my Uncle George, my Auntie Frida, and back then there weren't any cabins, there weren't any multicoloured cabins. It was just a caravan park where we just put a little, I guess a 3 or 4 man tent, and there was 5 or 6 of us sleeping in there. I remember waking up in the morning, my Auntie Frida making bacon and eggs and sausages for breakfast, and it looked much bigger back then, but now it's just a very, very small caravan park. You know, there you go, it's just on my left, and it ends here. So let me just do, oh, here we go, we've got some more kangaroos on the on the road. How lovely is this? Who would have thought that you're just driving along, and whilst driving along you come into contact with kangaroos who are just eating the front lawn and not caring who's watching them and who's there to interrupt them. So the author goes on to say that everything we are going to do or lose was built for the person you no longer are. So don't get attached to your old life, is what we're saying. Don't spend too much attaching yourself to your old life and holding on to too many old things, because we're meant to grow, we're meant to develop, we're meant to be better, bigger, better people. And in order to grow and become better people, then what we're saying is that we need to make room, make space for that. And the only way you can make space and room for that is by letting go, by opening and removing certain aspects in our lives, and helping us relieve ourselves of things that hold us to our past. I come from a family where a lot of us are nostalgic, that we have a nostalgic element to us. Now, I guess we love to hold on to things and hold on to memories, and we cry a lot, and we love being with our uncles and aunts and remembering the old days. But in some ways, you know, that is beautiful. There's no doubt about it. That is beautiful. But if we overdo it, according to what this author is saying, if we overdo it, we create a mountain. We build a mountain that and a prison that holds us back and doesn't allow us to make space to welcome in other areas of our lives, or other people, or other things, or other experiences, because we're too busy holding on to, hugging tightly and juggling things that we want to keep alive. But by keeping them alive, we're killing off, or not letting other new experiences occur and take root in our lives. So don't get too attached, is the message coming from this author. Don't get too attached to things, and we need to make room and space in our lives for new experiences and new people to enter, which means that in some cases we need to cycle through and let other people escape or move on, because not everybody that we consider, not everybody that we rate as our friend or our great friends see us as their friend forevermore. You know, some friendships, some relationships even, you know, have a time limit, a use by date, a best by date. It's not just reserved for food items. It's also reserved for things in our lives. Our cars, our motorbikes, our clothes, our houses. There are so many things that we need to cycle through, I guess, is once again the word that I'm looking for. But I'm just going around these streets and remembering and reminiscing of the different places that we've stayed. I think down here is another general store that we stayed at with Auntie Freda and Uncle George and my cousin Anna. We had the time of our lives, playing cards, playing board games, listening to the tape recorded cassettes, listening to some of the greats of the past. I'll just drive in here and we'll just go up here a little bit further. I think there was a general store up here somewhere. Let me try and identify it. But what else can we remember and what else can we learn from this book? So the author then invites us to consider the following, and they say that we need to learn to differentiate between intuition and intrusive thoughts. It's interesting to think about. There's a difference, according to the author, between intuition and intrusive thoughts. We need to feel our thoughts, and those thoughts need to serve us, need to be positive, and need to make a positive and serving contribution to our lives. I think up here the general store is, but let me just go a little bit longer, unless it's been knocked down and housing has been built to replace it. I'll just go a little bit further, then I'll turn back and go to Palm Beach, the first beach that I used to go to. So the author talks about intrusive thoughts, and I can't find a general store. Just a little bit further, and then I'll turn around. And the thoughts that we need to hold on to, the thoughts that we need to make the most of and to use, the ones that allow us to feel calm, to feel connected, to feel loved, to feel useful. Well, there you go. I couldn't find the store up here, so what I'll do is I'll turn around and I'll go back to Paradise Beach. What a lovely name. And you can see you got the old fibro houses. They're the sorts of houses, the fibro houses, the weatherboard houses were the types of houses that we'd come and rent. Auntie Freda would rent and we'd stay at for 5 or 6 weeks at a time during Christmas. And I wouldn't see my parents, wouldn't see my family, but I'd be with family, of course. But I'd have the time of my life. A lot of great memories. My Uncle George would help me in my growth and development, would challenge me. I'd have responsibilities and accountabilities, helping my auntie take the boat out of the water, organising fuel, bait, working with her to put together and to repair the long line, to drop the long line, to go fishing and to catch fish, to scale the fish, to clean the fish, and to be a male influence within the house, to be a company to Auntie Freda, to be a company to my cousin Anna. And they were just great times, because I think, as I mentioned before, as a young man, as a lot of young people in the 60s, not too many families went on holidays, especially the migrant families who had businesses, because when you had a business you just couldn't shut the doors and close up and just leave. You had a responsibility and a lease to uphold and customers to serve. So my parents would stay at the shop the shop there, and I'd be coming down here with my auntie and uncle and cousin and enjoying the wonderful years that were different. They were different years back then. We'd be listening to music of the greats, the Marinella. Who were the greats back then? Polopoulos. We just seen another couple of kangaroos, so I'll just drive in here and just to show them off to you, just to show you how prolific the number of kangaroos are in this area. Everywhere I go, there are kangaroos, as you can see, minding their own business, as I am minding my business. But it's just beautiful to be one with nature. I'm sure that my granddaughters would love it here, to just have kangaroos come to your house and feed it on your lawn. Something for my friends in Greece as well to see. So what more can we learn as we start to finish this book summary? The call to action is to not be anxious, to feel calm, because it's the intrusive thoughts as opposed to intuition. It's those intrusive thoughts that cause us pain and suffering. It's those intrusive thoughts that we need to manage as best we can and to do something about them. Because it's these intrusive thoughts, as the author says, that makes us feel bad and can cause damage to ourselves and to others. So the author says that we need to be congruent with our why, our goals and our purpose, and not to listen to our intrusive thoughts, and to avoid self-sabotage at every opportunity. Wow, how beautiful is it here. I remember coming here many a time. What I might do is I might just get out of the car and just finish off the vlog by just showing the view from this area. This is St George's Basin, a place, as I said, that I used to come to many a time. I'll just go over here and just take the camera and just try and get a view, just to remember, just get a feel, just get a retaste of the things that I can never forget, and things that make a difference to my life. So bear with me, I'll get out of the car. How beautiful is it? I'll just go down to the water's edge, hoping that I don't get too wet. But it's a lovely time of day. It's peaceful, very peaceful here. One thing that I remember from back in those days, and one thing that I can feel even today, is that you come here, there's hardly anybody about. It's peaceful, it's calm, it's relaxing. A lot of weed in the water, but it was always fairly weedy. But if my memory serves me right, the water here is very shallow. I guess because of all the rains this year, over the past couple of years, a lot of silt has washed into this estuary system, and hence why the water is a little bit brown. But up there, I remember the water, the sand was clean and it was shallow. You could almost walk out 200 or 300 meters and it would be ankle deep. And in the summer, it was always so warm and so beautiful to go and enjoy. So I think I'll leave it there. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where I'm coming to you today from Sanctuary Point, St George's Basin, and this one here is called Paradise Beach, a place that I used to come to every year for about a decade with my auntie to do my annual holidays, an experience that I will cherish forever. Times that I spent with my auntie, with my cousin, my uncle, my family, my other uncles, whoever would come down to visit. They're memorable times. The laughter, the food, the drinking, the fishing, all of those adventures are slithers of reality, are slithers of my reality, are parts of my story that not very many other people may have experienced. And I was very, very fortunate to have had and to have a very generous and loving auntie, uncle and cousin who would welcome me into their world, into their family, and we'd share these wonderful moments up here in this Australian paradise. Anyway, take care, wishing you all the best, and happy rest of the Sunday, and I hope to come again to you from a different place with a different message of empowerment, so that we can vicariously share and experience the wonders of this beautiful country that we live in, Australia. Take care everybody, yasas, and bye for now.